Hi there, this video is audio only friendly, so if you're driving or something like that, please just keep your eyes on the road and enjoy. Hello again, everyone. This video is another little bit of a ramble about something that I've observed with Anarchy servers over the years that I've played. I'm on Constantiam today, on my way to a little build that I'm doing. I might eventually get there as I'm going through what I'm going to discuss, but in essence what I'm going to talk about is how the population of Anarchy servers fluctuate, and how the reason that they pretty much from what I've seen, the only way that they can really remain active is kind of a sinister thing if you think about it. And there's people involved that may not necessarily realize that something that they're perpetuating is not necessarily good for the video game community in general. It's wonderful for the Anarchy community. Maybe not so good for the rest of the community, but at the same time, I would say in the grand scheme of things, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's more just, people try something and they realize that it's not for them, and they move on. So I don't want to call out anyone and say that they're terrible or anything, because, at the end of the day, what I'm doing right now is probably making me partially complicit in this. But if I thought it was truly wrong, I just wouldn't play these servers at all. But at the same time, some people may not agree with me, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and they may choose for themselves that this whole thing is not appropriate. But for me, it's just, it's like any game. Some games are just not for everyone, and some Minecraft servers are just not for everyone. One could argue that me playing on a Skyblock server, spending a whole bunch of time with friends on it, and then them adding a bunch of plugins that basically make it a modded server, that's really not for me, and I didn't want to play anymore, and so I stopped playing. It's as simple as that. But the same thing is true for Anarchy servers. And it turns out that most people don't want to play Anarchy servers. And the reason I know this is because it's the same reason that people don't want to work at McDonald's. A lot of people, teenagers, you pretty much only see teenagers working at McDonald's. Even the managers are quite young, in their early 20s, basically teenagers who got promoted. Objectively speaking, the people who work there are young because it's not a great job. There's very often not a lot of room for growth. There's not a lot of satisfaction in serving people who are tired and hungry and don't have a lot of control over the things they say. So you end up, dealing with very difficult customers and not being compensated accordingly. The wages are quite low, which is a whole nother discussion that I'm not even going to touch. But at the end of the day, when you are a manager at McDonald's, you inevitably have to deal with the churn of employees coming and going at an extremely fast rate compared to if you were, working for a more established company with a lot better working conditions, a lot better wages, a lot more rewarding careers for its employees. So if you think about it that way, Anarchy servers can be kind of like the McDonald's of Minecraft in terms of player churn. if I look at the tab list right now, there's about 40 players. Over the month of December, there was generally only about 20 players on, especially later at night in the American time zones. And even the 20 players, I'd say at least half were bots. And I think at one point there was a time when I was on the server and there was, I think like 15 people online. 11 of them I knew for sure were bots, and the remaining 4 I suspected to be bots, but I couldn't know for sure. And I even messaged all of them. I said, "Hey, are you a bot?" And none of them responded. But they may have just been AFK or something. But regardless, the majority of the server was bots at that time. And people have been complaining recently about how few people there are on the server right now. And even if you look at similar servers like 2B2T, there's the queues are a lot smaller. They obviously are still full 24 hours a day, but they were mostly the queues are getting smaller, and smaller queues means less people trying to play, which in essence could translate in another way as being a smaller, reduced population. And the very first Anarchy server I played, it had consistently maxed out people on the server, and over time it eventually got smaller and smaller and smaller. And I remember one of the most epic builds I ever did on that server, I was usually one of like 2 or 3 people online at any given time, and there was probably plenty of times I could have taken a screenshot of the tab list where it was just me. And the reason for that is because when people play Minecraft, they build something. Sometimes it's special to them. Getting diamonds is hard if you're not using any assistance. There's things that you do on Minecraft that you eventually grow an attachment to. So yeah, it's just it can be hard on people, and it makes them not want to play. And so like a lot of servers, if you get griefed, you complain to the admin and maybe they'll do something about it. But on servers like this, there's no rules. So if you complain to the admin, they're probably just going to laugh at you or just ignore you outright. And so the only recourse you really do have is to just stop playing. And for a lot of people, that's what they do. And so when you get a server like that where the majority of people stop playing, you get a situation like the server I was on, where I was the only person online because I genuinely liked not being subjected to rules, even though the way I was playing it was fairly normal by most standards of Minecraft. So I'm just going to check my coordinates here. I think this is fairly close to where I want to be, but not quite. Anyway, just going to punch in some new coordinates. I think it's 325, maybe. Anyway, yeah. Well, I guess either way, because of this churn, these Anarchy servers eventually just die out because nobody's playing them, and the whole reason for playing multiplayer is because people are on them. And eventually I stopped playing them too because there was no servers that I could find. 2B2T existed at the time, but I wasn't really good at searching for things at the time. I didn't know how to Google properly. And I just couldn't find any other Anarchy servers to play. It was quite frustrating. I had a few friends that we were all looking, and eventually we found an Anarchy server that was a mod pack. I think it was like some kind of Feed the Beast mod pack. And that was fun for a while, but yeah, it never seems to last all that long, and they get shut down. from people not using it. But then something curious happened, which was a few years later, after I finished college, I started seeing these YouTubers making videos about these kinds of servers, and I was like, wow, they actually still exist. I thought they had completely died out. Several years before, my friends were like discussing the anarchy, the Minecraft anarchy anomaly. I was like, oh, it's just like this weird fleeting moment in history where this really cool type of server existed, and my friend had me playing Rust one time because it was the closest thing we could find, but they eventually all died out. But then these YouTubers came along. Some were already Anarchy players, some were already established and just found out about Anarchy. You have that whole 2016 thing with Rusher, Camping Rusher, making some videos about 2b2t and actually some 2b2t players growing their own YouTube following through making their own videos, and now there's some big names in Anarchy that are from that server. Looks like we have some signs here. I don't know why here of all places. I guess it's kind of picturesque. Anyway, I guess my point is, when these videos started blowing up, there was actually a lot of interest in these servers again, and over time, through these little algorithm spikes from YouTube favoring Minecraft Anarchy videos, it just ended up bringing in a lot of players, and it was quite remarkable to me. And I was like, holy crap, there's actually not only a Anarchy server with like maxed out players, there's a bunch of Anarchy servers. And oh look, we got a little farm here. This is quite far out. I didn't realize there'd be something this far out. Well, anyway, so yeah, my observation was that every time like there was a YouTube video that kind of blew up, there was kind of, or just kind of an algorithm phase in time where Anarchy videos were favored, the population just blew up. And I found that like after the hype had sort of died down, there was, things are slowing down, and now they're picking up again. I wonder if maybe the algorithm is picking it up somewhere. Maybe it's TikTok, maybe it's YouTube again. But what was interesting to me is that I sort of suspected that back when I played, the Minecraft player base at the time, they had all just learned their lesson about Anarchy and stopped playing it. So a lot of people my age and maybe slightly younger were kind of like, no, that's not for me. I'm not going to play those anymore. And then there was, the diehards like me who were like, well, we need to find another Anarchy server. But it kind of gave me some hope for the Anarchy community overall, because as messed up as it sounds, people grow up, and eventually they grow up to an age where they start discovering Minecraft for themselves, discovering Minecraft Anarchy for themselves, and surely many of them, like I did, will fall in love, and a lot more will find out that they don't like it. And the people that don't like it are unfortunately going to be the victims of people who do enjoy Anarchy, the people who are going to be cruel to these people. They're going to bed trap them and portal trap them and blow up their base and all the things that happens on Anarchy. I mean, if my channel starts getting bigger and starts luring people into Anarchy servers, they may not see this video and they may decide that they're going to try playing it and then learn the hard way that it's not for them. And it's true for any game. I played a game called Dark Age of Camelot, and the game was 3 realms fighting each other, Hibernia, Albion, and Midgard. It was a really cool player versus player dynamic where 3-way fights could happen. And but at some point they created a PvP server, and that was kind of the first taste I got of like as close as I could find to Minecraft Anarchy before Minecraft even existed, and that server was quite similar to Minecraft Anarchy. Like, people were hacking, although on that server it wasn't allowed, but yeah, people were hacking, people were just generally being terrible and toxic, although that was kind of inherent in the Dark Age of Camelot community regardless, but it was definitely amplified. And yeah, it was a very chaotic, very scary place to be, and ultimately it died out because of, you know, the competitiveness that people couldn't handle, the toxicity that people couldn't handle, the just outright, you know, domination of a certain group of players. There's just so much churn that it could never last for long, and I never really understood that until I sort of started to see the same thing happen in Minecraft. And unfortunately, that server never had a popular YouTuber to help bring the churn back. But because these YouTubers are still making videos, they're making a living from it, they're probably going to keep making videos about Minecraft Anarchy. And there's going to be little smaller YouTubers like me doing the same thing, and the churn will continue. People will grow up, they'll discover it for themselves, and many of them will discover it's not for them, and really at the end of the day, we'll just have this churn continuing to go on and on. You know, my clickbaity title probably would make you think that it's a bad thing, and again, for some people it probably is. Like, for some people, they probably look back on their Anarchy experience and were like, man, that was a really terrible experience, why did I ever do that? But there are people who enjoy it. There are even people like me who are on Anarchy servers now, and we're not really toxic. We just like the element of danger. We like the element of challenging ourselves. I mean, I've said in previous videos that something about building something and coming back, and time after time it's still being standing, that makes it even more special. Because, you know, on a safe server, you build something special for a moment, and then it just continues to be there. And I think the element of danger, the fact that it's always at risk of being destroyed on an Anarchy server, just makes it even more special. Every time you come back to it, it never gets lost in the noise of everything else you've built. So yeah, there it is, my little ramble about how, yeah, at the end of the day, Anarchy servers churn through a lot of players, and only the few people who like it will actually sustain the long-term population, and that really, there always needs to be a temporary population of people who just have a terrible time playing. Well, I think at this point I'm going to go check out this garden. I kind of am avoiding going too close to it because it might have signs on it, and I don't want to have to go through the excruciating task of blurring out a bunch of terrible things in my post-production. So I will leave it at that, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Hi, thanks again for watching. Thank you again to Chillhop as well as Invention for letting me use their awesome music for these videos. Yeah, I posed a question in my last video in the outro about, you know, how I can give back to the people watching these. And nobody left a comment or anything, so I'm kind of curious if anyone is watching to the end at all. So if you are watching to the end, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give you a free t-shirt. And this is just a test to see if anyone is watching to the end at all. And so the first person to email admin@ianrandmckenzie.com and just put in the subject first to see outro, you want a free t-shirt. And if you email me and you're the second or third, maybe I'll send you a sticker as well. But anyone after that, I'm sorry, but I can't afford anything more than that at this point. But again, I ask, how can I give back to you guys in a way that isn't super expensive? because I do really appreciate everyone watching and encouraging me and all that kind of stuff. So, okay. Thanks. Bye.